Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no! Hey Descendants and Zombies universe, I'm having so much fun talking about the Worlds Collide Tour this summer. It's been a wonderful experience of mine, seeing all the photos that have been showing up on social media recently of Freya Skye, Malachi Burton, Kylie Cantrell, Malia Baker. I love seeing them have fun. And that is something that I've seen all summer long because of the Worlds Collide Tour, how it's been promoted. It's been fabulously produced, and it's one of the best on-stage productions I think Disney concerts have ever put off since the days of Hannah Montana, Jonas Brothers, Best of Both Worlds Collide Tour years ago. That was in 2008, and I think we've been wanting to see something so special since then, and we got that opportunity through the power of the Worlds Collide Tour, which has touched so many hearts. And everybody who was a part of the Worlds Collide Tour seemed like they were having the time of their life, and a time they will never ever forget and forever and always cherish. And that is what I love about being a podcast host, is having the opportunity to cover all these momentous moments and times in our lives, because as the times changed with the Descendants' perception, we too had to change with the times. And I think it was very difficult, incredibly difficult for fans of the original trilogy, who were fans of always and forever of Dove Cameron, Sophia Carson, Cameron Boyce, who we miss dearly. I'm going to be honest with each and every one of you. Descendants hasn't been the same since Cameron Boyce passed away, and I've been missing him for forever, like all of you, and that's why I do all these tribute videos about Cameron Boyce when the time is right, and the time approaches for the anniversary of his death and his birthday and stuff. You'll always have those videos here on this YouTube channel. But I think that even though in light of his passing, I think as the times change, we as fans have tried so hard to change with the times, and we've done such a fabulous job with that, because from out of nowhere, here comes Kylie Cantrell, Ruby Rose Turner, Malia Baker, with the sole purpose and the sole intention of wanting to entertain us and really to bring the best out of this franchise and explore new storylines and new adventures that the franchise had yet to encounter. Because, I mean, let's be honest, the original Descendants trilogy pretty much just focused on the relationship between Mal and Ben, stuff going on with Sophia Carson's character Evie, who had no backstory whatsoever. I think pretty much throughout the entire Descendants trilogy, people like Sophia Carson's character Evie were just trying to figure out her place in Ordon and figure out her place in the fairy tale world, because she had no backstory. The evil queen had no backstory whatsoever, so to introduce us to the daughter of the evil queen was somewhat challenging, but she did such a fabulous job doing that. From Descendants chapter to Descendants chapter, she became more revered, she became more appreciated, and she became more beloved by the Descendants fans. I don't think there was one person who didn't have a favorite character from Descendants, and if you tell me you didn't have a favorite character from Descendants, I don't know if I'd ever believe you, because I had my favorite character of Descendants, of course, Dove Cameron from years ago, and then it became Kylie Cantrell because of how Kylie Cantrell just showed up with such passion, and she wanted to be someone special to somebody's heart, and she wanted to forever remain in your heart, being remembered for the portrayal of the character Red, because I think ever since donning the character Red, she has done such an extraordinarily fabulous job bringing it to life in a way that no other actress would have been able to do it. And I would imagine they went through about 500 different people before they decided to give this honor to Kylie Cantrell. And I remember when Kylie Cantrell was first approached, being told that she had got the role of Red for the Descendants franchise, and she was so excited she cried for about an hour and a half, 90 minutes of steady crying. I think I would have been emotionally overcome too if they would have given me a role of somebody in Descendants too, because I really wanted to bring the best out of this franchise for forever. I've always wanted to be the director and the writer to tell you guys the honest truth of Descendants and Zombies, because I think I have a lot of creative energy to offer the franchise. I think a lot of people who direct this kind of thing, really don't show up with the same passion that somebody who loves it so much probably would. I'm sure a lot of you probably would offer creative direction with Descendants, thinking, this should happen or that should have never happened. I think a lot of you would have had a lot to offer to Descendants and Zombies, and I would have loved to have been in the director's chair for this one, because I would have really put my heart and soul into this. I think that allocating a budget for it of about $1 million per each, or $2 million rather, for each installment of Descendants is pretty much undermining the potential of the franchise and not really giving it much of a chance. I think the highest budget ever allocated for a Descendants movie was up to $10 million, and that was by Descendants 3, because they finally realized that Descendants was kind of coming into its own. It was so popular, so a budget of $10 million didn't really mean that whole much to Disney, because they knew that Descendants was really going to make the most of the opportunity. And man, has it ever captivated millions of people. It has really changed people's perception on life, and some of those beautiful friendships of all time have been derived from Descendants. They've obviously got something going on in Disney, because some of the most beautiful friendships of all time have happened. Kylie Cantrell, Ruby Rose Turner, Kylie Cantrell, and Malia Baker of more recent years years. I love how Clarke and Malia Baker are together forever, and their bond is unbreakable, and they have become inseparable, and how they tell everybody everything. That's really incredible, because when you can have a connection between fans and stars of a franchise as powerful as what Descendants is for Q&As, and they go so in depth with the responses, I think a lot of more celebrities could, learn from people like Clarke and Malia Baker, because I think a connection between fans and the stars is something to be very appreciative of, and that's one thing I got from the Worlds Collide Tour, and I came away from it being very appreciative of, is how they did this with an open heart and an open mind and such passion for the fans. I mean, whatever the question was from the fan, the star answered it, no matter if it was Clarke Cantrell, no matter if it was Mila Baker, whatever the question was, from your favorite movie to your favorite soda to your favorite color, the star answered it. Now, I know you had to submit your questions days before the Q&A if you were attending the VIP experience package, but I think it was so fabulously done. Even though the questions were limited, I think the Q&A answers were beautifully put together, and it really made you feel as if you were part of something special. And that's why, for the life of me, I don't know why people showed up at the Worlds Collide Tour with the sole purpose of reviewing it so critically. I think if you're going to review something like the Worlds Collide Tour, knowing the age demographic it appeals to, I think you should at least show up with a heart and a half, and really review it for what it's worth. A fabulous production, one of the best I've seen since Hannah Montana and the Jonas Brothers many, many years ago. And this is coming from a guy who was so supportive of Miley Cyrus and the Jonas Brothers. I was the biggest fan in the world of them. I couldn't say enough good things about them. I was so excited for the premieres of shows like Jonas and Miley Cyrus's Hannah Montana years ago, because I don't think anybody would have ever been able to bring characters like Hannah Montana and the Jonas Brothers to life the way they did. Their TV shows were fabulous, but I think that if you're talking about a new a trend, if you would, that's really captivated millions of Disney fans, with over 600,000 fans on YouTube and over 10 million fans on Facebook, it's got to be Descendants, because I've never seen a franchise become so overwhelmingly popular for obvious reasons. The passion behind the script, the passion behind the music, because from every Descendants chapter, the music seems to get better. I don't know what it is about the writers of the music, but it seems like with every chapter of Descendants that we explore and we come into, the music gets better. The story gets better. I don't know what it is about the franchise, because I'm just like each and every one of you. I'm excited to find out what happens next. Do I know what's going to happen next in Descendants? No, I don't know what's going to happen next in Descendants, but I'm excited to find out, and I'm excited to be here to cover it and profile it for you in the way that it was meant to be profiled and covered, because I think that a lot of people who do these reaction videos just don't show up, and they don't really have that appreciation that you should have when talking about Descendants of Zombies, because I think that fans are so loyal to this show that they know everything there is to know about the show. They know everything there is to know about their favorite stars. They know their favorite color, they know their favorite song, their favorite movie, what inspired them to get involved with the franchise, to audition. So because you know everything and you're so loyal to the product, you're going to come down hard on people who don't know what they're talking about when it comes to Descendants of Zombies, because for the life of me, I don't know how these concepts are so challenging for people to grasp, because it's just a concept of a day walker and a night walker finding their way into Seabrook amongst all these supernatural creatures that have already premiered in the Descendants of Zombies franchises. I think it's just a way for people to criticize it because they don't love Descendants of Zombies the same way 10 million people out there who are searching up Descendants of Zombies all the time on YouTube. Because I know how it goes. You know, people are always YouTubing Descendants of Zombies videos and they're finding the same 5 videos all the time. And I can only imagine how that must frustrate you, because I often do the same thing you guys do. I'm always YouTubing reaction videos for Descendants music videos. I'm always YouTubing reaction videos for specific scenes of Descendants, and I can't find the content that I kind of find time and appreciating, because that's when I want to get the most out of my watching of Descendants of Zombies. I was just like all of you when Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires premiered a couple of weeks ago. I was sitting in front of the TV. I was so excited with a bowl of popcorn and a slush puppy, and I watched the entire production. Did I sit in front of my TV with a notebook and a piece of paper? No, I didn't. Did I take jot notes about it? No, I didn't, because I felt that the most powerful way of talking about Descendants of Zombies was by doing it with an open heart and an open mind, because if you do it with an open heart and an open mind, you come away from it with a greater appreciation than you did ever going into it. I think that if you're going to tell people what you loved about the movies, tell them what you loved about the movies, but just don't do it from, pre-written statements or jot notes that you may have taken throughout the whole 90-minute production, because there's no way you can tell a story in 90 minutes and complete it. I don't care how beautiful the story is far from over, and we should never believe or buy into what the critics are trying to convince us of how the story has reached its dramatic conclusion, because it's far from a dramatic conclusion. I think it's an opportunistic time for people like Meg Donnelly and Mila Manheim to move behind the camera now and turn things over to Freya Skye and Malachi Burton, who I think are going to do a miraculous job carrying on the legacies of this franchise, because this is what this is. It's about life and leaving behind a legacy that you want to be remembered for. And I think that the stars, Zed and Addison, of this franchise are going to leave behind a legacy that will never ever be forgotten for being Disney's power couple. Because the more that I think about it, we've seen so many power couples come and go from Disney that are remembered for their legacies, but I don't think two people are ever going to be remembered more than what Zed and Addison are, and eventually, of course, Victor and Nova, who are going to do a fabulous job carrying on the legacy of the Zombies franchise and its story. I think what's to be expected here is a whole new story from a whole new perspective. I know in Zombies 4, Dawn of the Vampires, there was a scene where Nova and Victor actually kissed, but because of their age, they removed the kiss scene and they left that up to Zed and Addison's characters because of all the history they have from the Zombies franchise. I mean, they went through everything. By Zombies 2, they almost broke up. By Zombies 2, of course, Addison was trying to figure out her place in the world as a werewolf. By Zombies 3, she discovered she had a chance of being an alien. So, I mean, I've never seen a character have such appreciation for, what goes into creating a character and trying to separate her character from all the other characters we have seen on Disney Channel movies going back as far as High School Musical and the Hannah Montana movie years ago, the Cheetah Girls One World. I think that this is a very different time for Disney, and they've really come away from the Disney Channel revolution into a whole new era now represented by the Marvel Multiverse, Descendants, and Zombies. It's a cool time to be a fan of Disney, and I'm incredibly supportive of this franchise, and this is why I love talking about it so much on YouTube. While people will upload one reaction video about Descendants and Zombies, I can upload hundreds of videos on Descendants and Zombies because I love the appreciation that Disney has shown for Descendants and the recognition of how popular this franchise is, because it can never be too popular to always have a new chapter. And the thing about, a story is there's always an opportunity with creative minds to introduce us to new storylines, to go further with the story. I mean, looking at it from the perspective of Mal and Ben's relationship and how much emphasis was put on that from the original Descendants is one way of looking at it. But I mean, there were so many opportunities for them to be caught up in more predicaments, to be faced with more situations that they would have had to find their way out of. I mean, there was so much of an opportunity they missed out on with Descendants for creating storylines. And this could have even been turned into a TV series ever before The Rise of Red happened, because it could have been turned into a TV series called Oridon, focusing on the individual students attending Oridon Prep. And that would have been the perfect time to introduce us to more insignificant characters that really didn't have the spotlight given to them during the original Descendants franchise. So I think that there's so much of an opportunity for Disney Plus to really jump on here and really get the most out of their Descendants and Zombies experience, because I think that there are so many fans that are so loyal to this product that they never want to see it go away. And I'm one of them. I'm probably the only guy on YouTube that never ever wants to see this end, because I notice in the reaction videos a lot of people are talking about the conclusion of both franchises, and they're talking about the conclusion of the two franchises a bit too much for my liking, because there's so much further to go with this and so much more of a story yet to be told. Because as I just said, you just can't tell a story in 90 minutes and think it's completed, because it's far from over. And I am really excited to see where we go from here with the story. Because, I mean, having Ruby Rose Turner be involved with one Descendants movie, one Descendants project, and then see her exit from the franchise, posting it on X at the time that she was parting ways with the franchise, I'm going to be honest with each and every one of you, I was heartbroken over it. And with the opportunities of how people are coming back to reprise their roles like China and McClane and other characters that were part of the original Descendants trilogy, there's so much of an opportunity for them to tell more of a story of themselves rather than just being the principal of Oridon Prep and, just being there to present nostalgia, a nostalgic feel, if you would, to the Descendants franchise. Now, I'm not saying that Brandy didn't present a nostalgic feel as Cinderella reprising her 1997 role, because she did. And Rita Ora brought such a cool vibe as the Queen of Hearts, doing one of the most powerful portrayals of the Queen of Hearts I've ever seen done. I have never seen a live-action portrayal of the Queen of Hearts done so fiercely and so powerfully as what she did. And she she did such a fabulous job guiding Kylie Control down a path in Descendants that Kylie Control ultimately didn't choose to take and chose her own path. Carving your own path for your legacy of your Descendants character really showed just how much you wanted to really put behind your character and how much emphasis you wanted to have on how hope and second chances and a chance at a dream actually could become a reality for somebody, and that's really cool. The chemistry between Kylie Control and Rita Ora was absolutely fabulous. The chemistry between Kylie Control and Malia Baker was fabulously done. I have nothing but good things to say about Descendants and Zombies because perhaps that has a lot to do with how I'm such a huge fan of it, because I remember watching the premieres of Descendants and Zombies and being so excited for the futures of these franchises. You almost knew that you were going to come away with it with a greater appreciation than you ever did going into it. I remember watching the trailers of the original Descendants years ago and how they had the animated Disney villains and then the live-action interviews with Dove Cameron and Sophia Carson talking about the franchise and what it was going to be like to play the daughters of these revered Disney villains like Maleficent and the Evil Queen. And I remember them being so excited about it and all the PR that went behind the original Descendants. And now people like Meg Donnelly and Kylie Control years ago wanted nothing more than to be a part of this franchise. And at 9 years old, Kylie Control remembered all the lines in her bedroom watching the original Descendants movies and watching High School Musical. And here comes Kylie Control years later with the support of her family. Growing up in a dance home really benefited her, and she got the honor of being in all the franchises she idolized growing up. High School Musical to Descendants, she has one of the most beautifully decorated resumes of all time. And then I go on YouTube and I see these videos of her on TikTok crying because her political point of view and her relationship status somehow found its way into conversations. It really broke my heart, and I always wanted Kylie Control to know that the support was here for her, and a fan of hers actually was on YouTube talking about her in such an honorable way. Because I think that if you're going to talk about Descendants and Zombies, you have to talk about it in a way where the stars of it feel the appreciation coming from your voice and your heart, because you have to talk about it with an open heart and an open mind. It's one thing to sit on your show and talk about it with a notebook in front of you and cue cards, but that's something I've never ever done in my life. All of my lifetime that I provided you commentaries on such franchises such as Descendants, and I provided commentary on a lot of different niches, but I have never received this amount of support that I've received from talking about Descendants and Zombies, which is why I would love to talk about Descendants and Zombies for the rest of my life, because I think the most powerful way of doing it is by doing it with an open heart and an open mind, because you know when you do it with an open heart and an open mind, people listen to your points of view on Descendants. They take it into consideration because they share in the same kind of spotlight and understanding of Descendants and Zombies, because I believe that the fans of Descendants and Zombies are some of the most appreciative and some of the most loyal and lovable fans in the entire world, because their love is unconditional, and that's the only way they've ever known how to be. So I think to honor their legacies of being Descendants fans is the best way of doing it is by talking about your favorite moments, because you'll remember being a fan of Kylie Control and Ruby Rose Turner such as them. Because I do remember being a fan of Ruby Rose Turner years ago and watching her show Coop and Cammy Ask the World. I felt as if that show was a series and ended long before its time, just as I did Gabby during the Unsittables, but I came to realize that the reason why the series were ending so soon and were so short-lived is because Kylie Control and Ruby Rose Turner had the best of their careers, the best years of their careers ahead of them and yet to be realized. And some of the most remarkable moments have happened for Ruby Rose Turner and Kylie Control because they went on to realize the best moments of their career, you know, being these characters Bridget and Red, and really bring them to life in ways that no other actresses could have ever been able to do it. You know, I remember years ago when Disney would just, you know, Disney's always had this thing where they've sprinkled you on TV shows to just kind of test the waters with you. They did that with Dove Cameron for the Shake It Up TV series years ago, playing Dove Cameron's song in the background. Bella Thorne eventually reached out to Dove Cameron and said, hey, your song is really cool, we're going to give you an opportunity on Disney. And then Disney executives were calling Dove Cameron up to give her an opportunity on a show called Liv and Maddie later on that was originally supposed to have been Bits and Pieces, which was a show I remembered watching and being such a huge fan of because Dove Cameron was just so full of life and so full of talent. But the thing I saw about Dove Cameron was, while she seemed appreciative of being the male character in Descendants and being in the lead role, it was almost as if she didn't really want to be there. She was just doing it for the opportunity of exposure. And then here comes Kylie Control, such a different passion, such a different light was shone on the Descendants franchise from Kylie Control because she just wanted to be a part of everything that there was to be a part of for Descendants. She said nothing but good things about the Descendants franchise, remembering being a fan of it and all the PR that was done for it. And I've never seen somebody so incredibly excited to be a part of a sequel. The wrapping of the sequel was done just a couple of months back. Everybody is so excited about it. We're waiting on a release date officially to come in and happen for Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, but I think it's going to be an incredible year. And I look forward to the next year hearing your guys' predictions about Red and her sister Pink and what kind of confliction they'll be presented with, because this is the perfect opportunity to have a new storyline presented. And I'm excited to find out what that storyline is going to detail, because there's always an opportunity to create a new storyline off the power of Descendants and how much of an influence it's been in all of our lives, because that's the reason why we're all friends now. Some of the most beautiful friendships of all time have happened because of Descendants and Zombies. I have seen it with my own two eyes, where people just become friends for no particular reason, from out of nowhere, because of Descendants and Zombies, because they realize how popular it is. I mean, it's kind of like how the Power Rangers or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the early 1990s really captivated millions of people. And if you weren't a Power Rangers or a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan years ago, you weren't considered cool. And I think the same thing can be said about Descendants and Zombies. If you're not a fan of Descendants and Zombies, well, you're pretty much a loser, and you have no life. So you've got to fall into the cult of Descendants and Zombies fans that do exist out there, because it's... And to be honest with you guys, I'm really honored to be your voice of Descendants and Zombies. I'm really honored to have fallen into this niche of Descendants and Zombies fans because of how incredibly supportive you guys are. Because I was a guy, who was hosting radio programs and YouTube shows as the co-host of a lot of shows, and I felt as if my voice and my opinion wasn't being heard far enough, my reach wasn't great enough, and then all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, for no particular reason, you guys brought me back after a 7.5-year hiatus. And to be honest with you guys, I didn't think I was ever going to come back until I discovered the power of Descendants and Zombies, how appreciative fans of it were, and how loyal they were to the product. And now I sit here with over 3,000 subscribers, and I'm more known on YouTube than I ever have been before. I spoke on how earlier in the program, your parents probably remember watching me talking about the Backstreet Boys and talking about Britney Spears and NSYNC years ago when they were dating your dad. And pretty much that's I've been on YouTube for a very long time, so to be able to provide commentaries on Descendants and Zombies has been the greatest honor of my life, and I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. If I was talking about another niche this morning, I don't know if I really feel it as much as what I have Descendants and Zombies. But it's been such an honor to get to meet all of you, to share in your stories about Descendants and Zombies, to be a part of a story that has so much more yet to be told, and one that I'm incredibly excited about. I really am. Seeing all the photos and all the videos from the Worlds Collide Tour that have been recorded and uploaded to YouTube and other video platforms, it's been such an honor. I just got done watching some of the latest videos of the Worlds Collide Tour and seeing some of the latest photos and seeing how appreciative Freya Sky is and Kylie and Trell are to be caught up within the moment. And I think all of us at one point or another have been caught up in the moment of Descendants and Zombies and have come away from it with a greater appreciation than we ultimately did going into it. I think that we didn't expect to see what we did. We didn't expect to see the value and the worth really put behind the production. This is why I say it's one of the best on-stage productions since The Lion King or High School Musical or stage productions like the Best of Both Worlds Tour with Hannah Montana and the Jonas Brothers years ago, because I know how phenomenal that was and how incredible it was for fans to be a part of that years ago because I covered it. But I think that this World Tour is definitely going to be up for a sequel next year. And the interesting thing is there's a lot of conversation. It's an absolute buzz online right now that there will be a sequel tour put together and collaborated as early as next summer. And I, for one, will be on board for that because I would love to cover this all over again. Because this summer has created so many unbelievable memories for me. It gave me a chance to meet more Descendants fans on YouTube. It gave me more of an incredible reach. More people have been subscribing to this YouTube channel, which, by the way, if you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, I think you're really going to want to do that because I have a lot to say where Descendants and Zombies goes, and I, for one, am incredibly excited about the future of talking about Descendants and Zombies because I think more great storylines are going to be presented. There's going to be conflict with Red having a sister now as one of the consequences of time travel, and with time travel now being no longer needed and required in Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, as sad as I am that Ruby Rose Turner is not going to be a part of Descendants 5 because initially going into it I thought she was going to be a part of the Worlds Collide Tour. I know she was a part of on-stage performances for Descendants in the past, but not the Worlds Collide Tour. I'm really upset about that, but I'm also really excited and intrigued about these new storylines and finding out where we go from here, because new storylines will obviously be created and be presented. We're probably setting up a passing of the torch moment, which I'm incredibly excited about, because I want to see and I want to find out where we go from here with these franchises. I want to find out what new storylines will be created, if in fact we'll get to a point where there'll be a Descendants 6, because I for one believe that there will be a Descendants 6, and I want to find out more about the Zombies franchise too, because the Zombies franchise is overwhelmingly popular and everybody is just so proud to be a part of it and to be a fan of it. So I'm just honored to be here in your guys' presence talking about Descendants and Zombies for what feels like an eternity for me and the greatest time of my life. I'm having the most fun as a YouTuber talking about Descendants and Zombies, and I honestly wouldn't have it any other way, and there's no place in the world I would rather be than having the honor to sit behind this podcast microphone and talk about Descendants and Zombies for each and every one of you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to upload this video. I will be back probably tonight with one final video just before sunset, so make sure you join me for that. Until then, keep kindness in your heart as I will keep you in mind, and we will talk about Descendants and Zombies in just a few hours from now. Be kind to one another by YouTube, because kindness really does go a long way in this world.